Enbridge.
Pay your gas bill. All right.
Rick Young.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to get to see you.
Young Electric. In the house.
In the house. In the house.
Cool buildings and
Absolutely.
keep on plugging along with business.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So
Tell me about your business, Rick.
obviously we're an electrical contractor here in St. Catharines, but we're we're licensed in Ontario to be an electrical contractor.
It's important.
It's obviously very important. It's a prerequisite to be able to do electrical work for hire. So we do primarily residential, but we do dabble in the commercial as well.
And like industrial, agricultural? too?
Well, not too much agricultural, but we do industrial as well. Industrial, commercial do sort of blend in together.
And then I think you just did some training too, if I seen your stories right, for solar.
That's correct.
Yeah,
So
solar energy.
we'd like to be more proactive with renewable energy. I do think that that's where we're going in the world. I think generally speaking, you're going to see that renewable energy will be more and more popular as we get further and further along to our goal of, I guess, net zero emissions. I wanted to future-proof my company by doing the training now,
Yeah, that's a smart move.
as opposed to, say, being behind the eight ball and not having that training when we're really into it.
Do you get a lot of inquiries for doing solar stuff?
We don't get a ton. I think that the issue with solar is that it's an initial cost that's really high. But in terms of being able to, depending on your need, being able to live off grid or give back to the utility, it can offset the cost of electricity. It's not going to save you because we rely on electricity so much, but it will offset some cost.
And there's probably some incentives too for homeowners, whether it's solar panels on their roofs or I don't know if the government gives any of those incentives now.
There are incentives through the federal government to do the install, but originally when solar panels first came out, the buyback of that electricity was really high. So
Gotcha.
not so high anymore, but something that we should definitely look into because it's clean to provide that type of energy. We're lucky in this area though anyway, because we have a renewable energy source in hydroelectricity.
Good old LPG.
But other places in Canada and the US, they still work off coal, right?
It's true. So do you feel that taking this step is going to be a good proactive measure for the company?
I think it's proactive in terms of we're staying concurrent with industry moving forward. We also still want to be a provider of any service that we can, or any service that a client would want us to provide. So yes, I would say for sure proactive, but also definitely something that I love electricity. I'm a geek like that. So I mean, I'm really interested in renewable energy, and it doesn't just have to come from solar, but yeah, here, I mean, well, anywhere the sun touches, you can harness that energy. That's really cool.
So this is exciting for you as a next step for business growth. That's exciting.
Yeah, so that's also one of the reasons why we did it, is that we have another avenue to be able to provide clients with maybe what they're seeking, but then yes, grow our business and become maybe a major player in the solar industry here in Niagara.
I think that, this is just my opinion, you might get a little more potential business from like a commercial or industrial setting perhaps, business to business versus possibly the homeowner.
So yeah, you're right. And the reason being is that, again, the initial cost of putting solar panels on is so high.
Yeah.
But in terms of footprint, you have maybe a large manufacturing facility with a flat roof that's not doing anything but housing an air handling unit or two.
Right.
Well, let's put something out there that's
perfect
giving
real
us
estate
something
for it.
back. Yeah, perfect real estate for it. In a residential application, not so much real estate, but every little bit helps.
Then there's always with the roofs, it has to be like probably south or southwest facing or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
they want true south is the best, but yeah, your roof only faces so many directions. Now they do offer what's called like a sun tracking model, where
Okay.
the panels will move with the sun. Those are the best models, but again,
Yeah,
highest
crazy.
price tag. Yeah,
Yep.
and typically systems like that, we would want to get an engineer involved with for support for that sun tracking module.
Oh, cool.
It's really cool stuff.
You guys have any other avenues or whatever coming down the pipeline right now with your business that you've been working on or
Well,
establishing?
we're always working on ensuring that for backup generators, that's another big avenue for us.
Solid, yeah.
Again, we talked about how the winter was so bad, but we had our Crystal Bees, Ridgeway, Fort Erie area got hit really
Devastating
bad.
stuff out there, yeah.
People without power for 3-4 days, right? That's it's not good. Damage to homes, people not being able to live in their homes. We want to be able to give our clients and the people in Niagara everything they need to live a comfortable, healthy lifestyle.
Wicked.
A lifestyle
Is there a
that-
slogan here?
No, there's not, unfortunately. I know it sounded really good, but no, there's not. But like, that's the idea, right? Like, we want to be able to give people what they want. I would like to be able to be the person to give it to them.
Perfect,
So
man.
if they don't have to go elsewhere, we kind of want to be the one-stop shop. There is a slogan. Our slogan is, if it's electrical, it's us. But the idea is that if
just
you
said it,
have
that's
it,
great.
if you have something and you want us to try to implement it, if we don't know, we'll learn. And when we learn, we'll be able to do it. So
I like that.
we want to stay fluid with the times. Electrical in its nature is always evolving, and it's evolving at such a rapid pace.
Yeah.
So our code book, even though it's the 2021 code book, it's already out of date because they might have
There's
implemented
addendums
something.
each year or something?
So every year we have appendixes that or not appendixes, we have bulletins that come out that change the code throughout that code cycle. And we have to evolve with the code. We have to evolve with the times. We have to evolve with client and customer and business needs.
Yeah. That's good, and it can also probably, I'm just assuming, be frustrating at certain points. Say you get an inspection, and the inspector says, oh, that this fails because of such and such code, and you're like, oh, I wasn't aware.
So
Didn't get the memo.
there is an asterisk to that if you pull a notification or a permit previous to a code cycle, you're only enforced on the code cycle of the year you pulled that permit in.
That's a saving grace, that's good.
So I finally have recently wrapped up a job due to major delays that I had took a permit in 2020 for. So I was subject to the 2018 code and not the 2021.
So when you're saying there's a lot of different code changes, like what are we saying a lot? Is this like 10 or just like hundreds over the past couple of years?
I think this year I don't have a number on it, but I would definitely say within at least 100 different code changes. They're all outlined in the code book with a Delta logo to show a change. I also go to a code class. It's a
great.
It's a code update refresher that's given by the ESA, the Electrical Safety Authority. It's always put on by the ESA inspectors in the area for the updated code. It's not free, but it's something that, again, is important to me that I stay updated with everything that's going on.
For sure.
A, to make sure that our installs are always code compliant, but B, to evolve with the times as well.
Yeah. So then is it just yourself or is you book with your entire team?
So this year was just myself. Obviously, earlier in this code cycle, our business was relatively small. It was myself, another journeyman, and just an apprentice.
Yeah.
Since then, we've grown. So the idea is that when we have another code cycle, I'll invite my journeyman to come with me, and we'll be able to all go together to make sure that the individuals that are responsible for training our apprentices are also going to be training them the proper way to ensure code compliance.
So then every time that there's a change, you probably have to get an addendum book or whatever they have to, or pamphlet that you have to put in your books now in the vans?
So everything's online. We go to the CSA website and then I'm able to go by and figure out what that change is. It's not an actual alert. So, for example, if we were doing, let's say, a counter receptacle and something were to change, I'd go to my code book, I'd look at the rule that stated whatever was the rule on counter receptacle, but I'd also have to look at my bulletin table of contents and see if that rule has been included in the bulletins, and then cross-reference that. So there's a little bit of work that goes behind the scenes in terms of making sure each installation is code compliant. Now, that's not always how it happens, because I have a hit list of things that I've put in that are bulletins that are more relevant to certain installations, but it's a real thing. You have to go and do your homework. So when I go to a SteveBuilt job site and my journeyman puts a receptacle here, that receptacle has gone through me, and I've told them this is where we need it. And most of our journeymen are just as motivated to learn, so they'll
That's
either
awesome.
ask why, or we'll have a discussion on why the location changed. So.
So I guess there's a bit of, obviously different industry between yours and mine. That's obvious. But in terms of being a carpenter by trade, non-compulsory, still, apparently Ontario College of Trades is working on that. I've been saying that for years. We don't get any notifications like journeyman carpenters for changes of Ontario Building Code, whatever. We just find out either through inspection, through the design phase, whatever inspector on site gives us notification. So it's a bit frustrating, because in order for us to get updated, we're literally getting addendums to the code constantly.
Yeah, and that can be
It's costly, and it's
well,
a
it's
pain in the
super
butt.
costly. And I have a copy of the Ontario Building Code, but I have no addendums.
Yeah.
And I still have to be aware of some of that stuff, but I would never know. I know, like with the ESA, because they're the governing body for us, whereas like framing inspection and plumbing inspection, stuff like that is done through municipal level. The ESA has a flat out right across Ontario, that's what their inspection is. So every 3 years we get a new code book. That's written in stone. If they don't print they don't print a code book when they have enough changes. Every 3 years there's a new code.
Okay. Yeah, so we're working off of 2012 OBCs, and then we're literally just getting addendum blankets that we just keep adding to the binders.
So every 3 years they print a new code book, and we buy that code book, and it's the 2021 code book. Like I said, they offer a class. You have to pay to take the class, but you take the class, they go through some of the changes, and then throughout the 3 years that code book's in effect, they'll add bulletins or changes to the rules that reflect typically industry changes.
Right.
They're not making changes to core rules in those 3 years. They might make changes to include a new switch that might be invented, or a receptacle that might have been in process of patent pending and CSA approval. Now it's approved.
Okay.
They do a bulletin and say this would be acceptable. One example is, I don't know if you've seen them, but they're generator connections through the meter base. You take your meter hub
seen
off,
those.
you put the generator connect in, and then you pop your new meter in. Well, during the 2021 code, when it was being written and produced, those were not accepted yet. But now they're accepted and there's a bulletin on it.
Gotcha. So probably a lot of the different code changes would come from different products, like you said.
It's
Evolution in the-
I think it's typically product driven. There are
Yeah.
some things that change, and they'll make changes because maybe code is incorrect, or some study's been done that shows that the code never really needed to change, and they revert back to an older setting. But yeah, it's typically product
Like,
driven.
I know with OBC, and I could be wrong, but I believe it was 2017 when the building envelope took a huge change in flux, and OBC and DuPont Tyvek, huge implications, and basically it was the whole tuck tape thing.
Right.
And how we wrap our floor systems and headers and everything. And there was a huge change on that in 2017. And then there was another one in 2019, and then 2021. So from my 2012, I literally have these 3 addendums that I'm just like, here's a stack, here's a stack.
It's funny that you say that, because I had thought that
Refill.
I had thought that there is even there's a new code for wrapping buildings. Like you don't tuck tape the exterior now. You gotta let them breathe or something.
Oh, with Tyvek products?
Styrofoam?
With foam. So
Yeah.
foam, that's been a hit or miss one with us.
Yeah.
It depends on with us, it's dependent on the inspector and the town that we're in.
Right.
So Niagara-on-the-Lake with the foam, it was you needed to tape it with the white or the red.
Or red, yes.
And then with Tyvek, if you are overlapped, I believe it's 3, possibly 6 inches. Overlapped, obviously top over bottom.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be taped. But I think any of its vertical seam that overlaps, I think you have to tape it, if I'm understanding that correctly from memory. And then zip panels now,
Yes.
they're zip where you don't have to do anything.
So
You could fill the nail holes with their
for me, that seems, in terms of like your job and your responsibility, super confusing. Because now we work in several different municipalities here, right? Niagara Region's huge, but we have, like 10 or 12 municipalities we work in. Every municipality may be different. Obviously, some municipalities will be the same, but you have to install based on the municipality. So, like, that's really difficult.
There's a lot of gray. Yeah, there's a lot of like gray stuff in the building code. And we find that like dependent on who's reading it and how it's interpreted is a huge role in how that's coming across in a conversation.
So I completely agree with you. And interpretation is a huge word in our world as well. I might interpret a rule different than the inspector, but the one thing that I think we're fortunate with is that the rule book is completely the same through the whole province of Ontario, right? And so now, if I needed, or we needed to do a job somewhere up north and build this beautiful custom cottage, well, the rules that apply in Niagara still apply up north. Still be inspected by the same rule book.
For ESA, yeah, for sure.
So I think I'm a little fortunate in that way. It's worth saying that the ESA code book is the whole Canadian electrical code book with the Ontario amendments added to it.
Gotcha.
So us being a red seal trade, we can be an electrician in every province in Canada. However, I can only work as an electrician for hire in Ontario. My master's license, our electrical contracting license is only for Ontario. If I wanted to go to Edmonton and do a job, no, I can't do that.
Or Quebec or whatever?
I'd have to then jump through their hoops to be able to do electrical for hire, for money. So then that gets into that gray area of like the underground economy, and just because you're a master electrician doesn't mean you get to do work. You have to carry these licenses to know that the customer's protected. If something goes wrong, we're protected with WSIB, insurance for if something goes wrong on site as well. We are able to repair the customer's home. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through just to do a simple receptacle in Ontario. I think I think that definitely falls to the wayside. I think ESA has to do, well, they are doing a better job, but they need to do a better job to convey to the public that they are the governing authority for electrical installation, and that if it's done by no one other than an electrical contractor with an ESA number, it's not good enough. I'm not saying that there's not good electricians out there, but I'm saying that liability insurance...
It's a good standard, though.
It's a standard. I think inherently electrical is dangerous. We know shock and electrocution hazard, but the big one is that it's fire. It's loss prevention, life safety, stuff like that. I mean, I think the public needs to be a little bit better educated on what's right and wrong and that sort of thing.
Yeah, see, with us, or myself in particular, being a general contractor, we obviously you can write your licenses, you can write everything. Like, we're not limited to what you just said about having a master electrician license, or whatever the case may be, and we're limited per province. Right. So like myself saying Muskoka, I'm like, I had thoughts of actually moving up north and or doing another division. up there. So I'm like, okay, it's attainable. You can do it. There's some downside to that with Ontario Building Code because I've obviously grew up here my whole life. Building code there, even just say Niagara Falls.
Right.
The roof load, the roof loading specs for trusses and everything with snow load is way different in Niagara Falls than it is in Niagara-on-the-Lake, St. Catharines. Up north, it's like we have different frost. There's different codes, right?
Those codes change because the actual location changes, like the weather changes, correct?
Yeah, it's climate and everything, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think we work closely together, but our rules are so separated.
Yeah, they are.
And it goes
And the
to
mandates
show,
are different too.
right? It goes to show the harmony that has to go into doing a simple renovation or a custom home or anything, just building a home in general, is that I rely on you to make sure your framing, everything's done correctly. So when I pull wires through those joist cavities and those stud bays, that it's there to stay.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? So it's a good harmony. It's definitely something that, for us working with you, it's been super positive to be able to bounce ideas back and forth with yourself, with your team. It's also been very, very beneficial for us to have a really conducive work environment.
Yeah, and likewise.
Yes.
So that being said, moving on to sort of the next topic I had in mind, and feel free to interject, change it up wherever you want to,
My
Rick.
favorite thing to do is interrupt. No, just kidding.
And I object.
Objection. Objection.
Would be like your business right now as it stands.
Right.
Tell me a bit about it in terms of, are you particularly doing more homeowner client, like private calls versus builder contractors?
So, yeah, it's a really good question. It's hard to put a number on it. We do field our own fair share of our own clientele, so people can come to our website, they can reach out. Word of mouth has always been the key for us.
It's always the best.
We do a little bit more advertising with our vans being stickered, or my truck being stickered, stuff like that, and signs on the yard. But in terms of actual media, commercial stuff like that, none up our alley. But I can say that we do more of our work, more of our larger scale projects with our contractors. Our homeowners will call for panel upgrades, inspections. In some cases, they'll take on a renovation and they'll hire us as the electrical contractor.
That can probably be interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely
Scheduling.
Yeah, there's definitely room for people to improve with respect to understanding time limits, how far in advance we need to book.
You're trying to censor yourself. You're the sarcasm. I get it.
I want my kids to watch this before they're 18. But realistically, working with a contractor such as yourself, you already know the lay of the land. You know product delays, scheduling, timeout, stuff like that. Whereas a homeowner has no pulse on any of that. So if a homeowner were to ask for something specific and, take for instance our custom Lutron receptacles and colors, that sort of stuff like 2-3 weeks out. And if I told a homeowner that, 2-3 weeks out for a custom color receptacle, there'd be a shock on that. It could be a shock on sticker price too. Whereas dealing with a contractor that sort of shocks out of it. I'm able to tell you what's actually up, and you're able to just roll with me and know that this is what's going on.
Info way prior to needing it done that moment,
Exactly.
you can already plan for it.
Exactly. In some cases, there's delays, and in some cases, things don't
smoothly.
get delivered or don't get ordered by accident. But for the most part, we try to be prepared. When we work with you, everything's laid out on the line. When we go through, we have a site meeting, everything's listed, we have a clear scope of work. If there's not a clear scope of work, well, we ask questions, we talk to the homeowner, or you talk to the homeowner, your team talks to the homeowner, we get a clear scope of work. We're able to order that stuff in advance, so when it's time to trim out, that stuff's already there.
Bingo. That's the way it should be.
Well, for us, it just makes sense. So if someone is inviting me onto their job site as a contractor or as a homeowner or both, they're inviting us to do the work for them. I should at least respect the time enough to do my due diligence to make sure the material's on site, barring anything that is unavoidable or uncontrollable.
Yep, 100%. I like that. So with regards to like the delays and stuff like that through the pandemic, has that played a huge impact on your business?
It's funny because the pandemic caused delays, but only in certain sectors of our material.
Oh, yeah.
So year one, I would say, well, year one of the pandemic, so let's say 2020, everybody had, this is what I found, this is just opinion based, but I found that you had everybody that had all this extra money and they didn't know what to do with it because no one could travel. So hot tubs, pools, disconnects for hot tubs, large scale wire,
A lot of hot tubs,
breakers for like in the neighborhood of like 30 to 50 amps, stuff like that, hard to come by. Everybody bought them up. And we know that because even pool companies were having trouble getting hot tubs. Pool companies were having trouble getting liners, all this other stuff. Now, if I recall, I think Texas had a cold snap and there was like vinyl that was made down there.
I think that was last year, I'm pretty sure.
And caused a big backup and stuff. So yeah, that caused a huge deal for us. So people
Shipping containers getting stuck or lodged in a canal.
Yeah, lodged,
in a lock or whatever.
Yeah, the Suez Canal getting blocked for a week or whatever it was. So how do you control that? You don't, right?
You can't, that's impossible.
And then moving to year two, we had some shortages of NMD wire, like Romex. What else was there? Distribution equipment, panels. So for what I had to do is I had to shift focus from one brand to another brand. So I was primarily an Eaton user for residential distribution. Eaton had a substantial backlog of back-ordered material for breakers and panels. We could not get them. They were backlogged like hundreds of thousands of units. So I made a shift to a different brand.
Gotcha.
And now here we are. So there was a bit more tiptoeing around things and a little bit more being open to trying different materials. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as the material we're putting in is still CSA approved, whether it's a Homeline panel, an Eaton panel, a Siemens panel. For a while, it was whatever we could get our hands on, we'd get the job done. But I'll say that clientele, contractors, we're all dealing with the same thing.
Yep.
So I
It's just a little
think
bit of
generally the public was pretty, understanding.
That's good. So the big thing was then just time for you with the ordering materials, and that was the same with us.
As a small business, what was really challenging during that time was buying material in bulk. So a larger company that had maybe more liquid assets in terms of cash to be able to spend money
They
to
get all
buy
their dibs on stuff.
material in quantities of skids, well, we were not able to do that. So we were more, we were more threatened by pricing changes, pricing increases, material shortages, because to buy 10 reels of wire for myself at $300 a reel is a lot harder than a larger company to do so.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
So that was a bit more of a challenge, but it worked out. It worked out okay.
And then I know you had some growth, as we were talking about a little bit earlier.
Yes, so yeah, we're not just one journeyman anymore. We currently have 2 journeymen and 2 apprentices, and myself, and my wife is our office manager, so it's a real family business.
And you got a shop now.
We got a shop.
This past year you got a shop.
This past year we got a shop, so we actually have a spot where the vans get parked. We have material storage. It's not out of the garage anymore. My office is staged there, so when I can go home, I can be that family guy still.
100%.
Because it's important for us to detach too. I think we get wrapped up in our work because we care so much about it. Like Young Electric, my last name, SteveBuilt, Steve, right? Your name.
I'm glad you're bringing this up. It's a huge, it's a huge topic.
So, you you put your name on your mortgage, you put your name on your, wedding certificate. We sign our names with everything. We put our name on our company. It's a part of us. My company is not just a company. It's something it's almost like a third child to me.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure.
And it's important for us to detach, and it's really, really difficult.
Oh, 100%.
Like-
And I don't even know if we can confidently say that we 100% detach once the day is quote unquote done.
I mean, I agree with you. I have a very difficult time compartmentalizing work and personal life. And it's always a growing challenge for myself to be able to put work aside and put my family first. It's bad to say, but it's true.
Wasn't
And
that
it's
the
a
reason
constant-
why we're doing this?
Yeah, I
To
mean,
better us and our family? That's why we signed up to take this risk to be
yeah,
entrepreneurs, right?
for sure, for sure. There is certainly for me as a level of selfishness. I actually do enjoy my trade.
Oh, for sure. That's great.
Yeah, but I love it. And when I get to be at work to create something with you, to be able to give someone a better home or business a better, electrical system, it's actually, it means something
Not just
to me.
better lights?
Not just better lights. I mean, I do my fair share of turning lights on and off, but if you talk to me sweetly, I'll dim them too.
I love it, Rick. You get me every time.
Oh, that's all it takes, eh? Just call me by a pet name and I'll put a dimmer in.
Oh, God. So is this pet name going to be like I spoke about in the one last podcast? Is going to be a SteveBuilt After Dark? Is that one of those?
Oh,
pet names?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a SteveBuilt After Dark.
Love it.
What do you do that helps you separate work from play, work from personal life?
That's still one. I can't say it's a struggle, or I can't say that I'm working on it, because I think that I'm always gonna be conscious of that and working on it. Just because, like you brought up, like we wear this on our sleeve. It's in us. Like it's instilled in us. Like we took this on as our baby, and as much as I want to just turn it off, like completely from my brain after 5 o'clock or whatever the time is, on weekends, on vacations, it's always going to be present. It's always going to be there, just like a kid. So we'll use that as an analogy or a simile.
Yeah.
With myself, I'm sort of using just almost like boundaries. I need to create boundaries, not only for myself, but for my relationships. So like my big one is my wife. And then my friends and my family that I care about and they care about me. Like, not only is it not good for our stress levels, it's also not good for our relationships when all we think about or talk about or whatever is work. There's more to life than just work and our business. There's why we got into this in the first place and stuff like that. But it can really control someone super easy, and that's something that I'm always going to be working on is like the time management thing and the separation between SteveBuilt and Steve Schroeder personally, and trying not to have both of those as the same identity. It's really hard.
It's funny you say that. I mean, there was a time where all I did was the business, and it got to be a little bit too much. And I remember having serious discussion with my wife saying, like, you're home, but you're really not present. Like, I'm making an Instagram post while, like, we're setting the table for dinner. And it put in perspective is that you don't necessarily always keep track of what's in front of you. So I definitely agree with you. I think for me, boundaries for sure. I'm able to, when I leave,
Close the door.
I close the door and I try to, like, when I get in my house, I'm Rick or Dad. That's it, Rick.
That's great.
Now, there's always going to be extenuating circumstances, and that's always going to pop up,
That's
and I'm
life.
not worried with that. But if on a general level, if I am consistent with that, then we're good. I think people forget we're people.
Yeah, people.
sometimes
I guess it depends who that particular individual is.
this is true. I think we provide a service. We obviously are tied to our business, but we're still family men at the end of the day. We're still
Regular
individuals,
dudes.
regular dudes. I still wholeheartedly love the Toronto Maple Leafs.
They're gonna win the cup this year.
Hey, set them right. But you know what I mean? Like, we're still people, and it depends on who you talk to. I totally agree, but I think sometimes we get lost in that because Monday to Friday
We're so entrapped and not trapped, but zoned.
we're zoned into what's what's on our plate, the task at hand. That sometimes it's hard to pull away from that.
And I guess it just comes from love of what you're doing. Like, I love what I do. I love turning, whether it's a remodel, just this outdated, just call it piece of junk. That doesn't work, it's not functional, looks like garbage, stuff's not to code, and then we transform it into a beautiful home, masterpiece, whatever you want to call it, sanctuary, oasis, and it's like, we did that with our hands.
I agree.
And like just brain power, hands, all of our resources, all of our relationships, all of our, you know what I mean? It's like, that's a really cool feeling and I love it. The other side of that spectrum would be like, we can easily get caught up in that. And like you said, like the Instagram life, the social media stuff of just like constant not putting it down. And like, I don't know. I think we have to train our mindset. It's almost like we need to get help and seek help and just training our mindset that we need to segregate the business from the personal life and try and keep them separate as best we can.
I agree. And I'd like to resonate on that too, because I really do love what I do. Like, I didn't get into business to be rich. There's no one's going to be rich here.
No.
I got into this because I genuinely just want to help people. And
Awesome,
I remember, that first job, that 4-pot light job, and just being proud of that, and just be like, the customer, oh my goodness, my living room looks so good. That, I don't know, that warms my heart. And I love it. And I still get that feeling every time we do something to help somebody out. I love it. And that's what I want.
That's awesome. Yeah, like obviously we're in business to make money. It's a business. We don't want to be in business just to be a vicious circle of trying to catch up on bills. No, we're in it to make money. We're in it to provide a better lifestyle for our families, us, whatever the case may be, whatever you want and set out to get. But I think brings it back to like the first thing, if you don't love it, it's gonna feel like a job. It's gonna feel like prison sentence, whatever you want to call it, and you're just going to be stuck in this.
Well, we provide more than just we provide more than just giving clients satisfaction for their home. We provide employment for other people. We provide training to grow our trades separately. So realistically, I mean, okay, we're obviously in business to make money, but I want to give you my service because I know my service is the best. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to show my apprentices how I do things, because I know that I've taken the 15 years to do this. I know it's safe. I know it's the right way to do it.
100%.
And then I'm ready to create a better electrician for the future. And vice versa. You're in it to create another carpenter for the future, great carpenter. Someone that can build something with their hands, put something together that's going to stand for another 250 years, never, So that's also something for me. I'm able to give back to my community. I'm able to be an employer for 4 wonderful individuals, and 2 of them are going to be wonderful journeymen when they pass. So that's pretty cool too. So thinking back, if you take yourself out of your shoes, it's really neat, like where we are. We're the next gen.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it too. Like there's a lot of, like, speaking of next generation, there's a lot of older companies that they might not pass on, or they might not sell their business or whatever, and they might just, that's it, they're gonna just close.
We're relatively young individuals. So the journeyman that we both had moving through our trade, were more apt to withhold and keep that information.
That's true.
And I think that it's amazing that we are able to pass that knowledge on. We're just different individuals.
Yeah, and I think though that comes like full circle, like to the times. We need to now, not only because there's such a shortage in trades, but like that's just almost what everyone does now. Like if you're not a mentor to someone, like are you even like should you even be in business? Like that's the whole reason.
Yeah.
Like
What's the point? Like what's the point of taking a secret on how to do something to the grave? It doesn't help anybody.
yeah.
So truly, are you even a giver? Like, are you even willing to help? I don't know. I think generally for me, it's just, that's what I define a good human being as, the ability to help and give to others, not just in a product,
Thanks, Jay.
but in the ability to teach or give people what you've been taught and what you can teach and knowledge.
Yeah. Now, with what you asked me, is there like things that I work on or things that I do to try and separate the business from the personal? Do you have certain things that?
I do the same thing. Boundaries are huge. I'm still working on that. It's legitimately, it's a struggle every day. Like that boundary, when we talk about gray areas in the OBC, but there's a lot of gray area with boundaries here. But I'm better. I'm not as active on social media as I wish I could be, but that's also a part of the boundary for me, that I don't necessarily have to showcase everything I do.
Right.
The work speaks for itself. So I could dial back that sort of stuff. It's boundaries, just sort of making sure, and motivation. So I try to go to bed early, get up in the morning, and be more productive with my workday. So if I can get more done, then I'm able to, relax more, less procrastination.
Yeah, that's a big one, and obviously scheduling and knowing how to set up your to-dos and your scheduling. Like I'm starting to get into time blocking, and I'm starting to, rather than set up to-dos, I'm just putting it in my schedule, so I feel like I'm actually hitting it, because I feel like if I just leave a whole bunch of to-dos throughout the day or throughout the week, they're just really not getting done. But if I put it in the schedule and I allow time for it, it's like, okay, it's in there, let's go time, let's get her done.
Right, and I remember us talking about time blocking before, and I really liked it.
I think we did, yeah.
And what you said to me was that you'll time block like 2 or 3 hours to do, we'll just call it paperwork, whether it be billing, invoicing, whatever, paperwork, but you'll put your phone on do not disturb or whatever. I like that, and I do that too. So I'll time block some things when I really got to get stuff done, and then I'll put call forwarding on to Katie. So if I do get a call, it shows that someone's there instead of leaving a message. So I've kind of taken that sort of idea from you. And
cool.
It's worked actually really well.
Well, I'm glad it's working. And I actually got that from some podcasts that I'm listening to, and Frank Musso,
right.
Frank and Co.
Yeah.
hit that nail on the head. Pun.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, he helped me realize that one.
Oh, that's too funny.
So yeah, I'm really grateful that we have this community, that the builders that we work with, the contractors that we work with, that we can sort of, use this community and take ideas and just feed off of each other and say, hey, like this works, does this work for you? And
actually, that's a really good point. You said community, which is unique, because when I first started, I didn't exactly know what I was getting into, right? Like, I'm by no means I'm a businessman or a social media expert.
You don't say.
Right? Yeah. The electrical work's the easiest, but the community that I have found through yourself and other contractors, other trade professionals, not just electrical, like in Niagara, has been really, really cool. Lots of really good support.
That is probably, I don't know if I have like a favorite thing about my job other than like the final of the job, but I really love the networking that being a self-employed general contractor has brought me. I've been gifted with. It's a good feeling that I've made relationships and they got, like, you got my back.
Yep.
Other trade partners, other friends I can call them now, they got my back. I got theirs, right? You know what I mean? And we can work together and to get stuff done.
What initially started as a business venture, right? I'm going to do something for you, you're going to do something for me, has now blossomed into a friendship. And I think that's the coolest bit, is that when I'm on a SteveBuilt site, I already know what I'm bringing to the table. You know what I'm bringing. I know what to expect. And it's just what we can do is now we can enjoy ourselves doing our thing. And that sort of networking, I think the social media aspect, that made it easier because of the transparency of who we are, because we're the face of the business, we want to be out there. So I think that's kind of a positive to some of the social media aspect, but networking
it's true, because I wouldn't have found you without social media.
Right. At that time, we never had a website.
I think you did send us a letter, though.
I sent a letter. I sent an introductory letter.
Yeah. So technically,
I did that to a few contractors.
Oh, I'm not the only one.
But yours, I kissed it with lipstick on it.
Oh, that's how signed, sealed, kissed, delivered.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that I thought in the world of social media and all this other, I thought I wanted to go with like an old school approach, like write a letter.
Yeah.
Just a letter. I typed it up, but whatever. Typed it up. I printed it off.
Right.
All right. I didn't use a typewriter, but I signed it.
Yeah.
Just saying who I was, that I was willing to help. Not that I wanted all your business. Not that I was going to kick anybody out, do anything silly. I wanted to let everyone know that if there is an overflow, you're looking to try someone out, or you want to get to know me, my door is always open. And I've always, I think, from a person that might have been at one time, had a tag of an introvert, it was really sort of an eye-opening experience to be like, okay, well, if I'm going to run a business, I need to be out in the open so people can see who I am.
You were an introvert? I gotta stop you there for once. I just can't visualize.
I wouldn't say I was an introvert, because I, by definition, probably am not.
Okay.
But I would say that I was like substantially shy.
Oh, I just can't see it.
Well, I'm not shy now.
No, I can't see it.
Hello, world.
Like when Rick Young is in the house, everyone knows. Like it's you know.
Is that a good thing?
It's like cheerful. It's
well, I appreciate that.
It's like just funny. You're cracking puns and jokes, and it's.
Well, I think
you bring spirits up, man.
I think like you just mature as a person, and you realize like half the stuff out there is not worth its effort to worry about. So we might as well just be happy, right? Like.
I'm glad though you reached out with that letter, and I'm glad that we found each other through the Instagram community, and I'm grateful that I found a bunch of other contractors and designers and the network that we've created.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few other electricians we talk to on a regular basis, not actually even from here, but other parts of Ontario, and even in the States. And they're always they're pushing the envelope down there, and if we're able to kind of do some sort of that work up here, as long as it still meets our code compliance, that there's still like more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to your destination. So if we're able to like evolve that way, that's still like it's part of what we do, is we have to evolve, or we're just gonna get stagnant, and all of a sudden you're gonna have wireless electricity, and I'll still be pulling wire. That would be embarrassing.
Frick.
I got a joke for you.
What's the joke?
All right. This is a dad joke, though. This is safe. This is not an after hours joke.
Okay. Cool.
What is an electrician's favorite ice cream flavor?
Have we heard this one?
Don't guess it.
Don't guess it. Okay, what is it, Rick?
Chocolate. Wow.
Chocolate, I love it. Your kids laugh at that, right?
Yeah, well,
Not anymore. They've heard it a few
they're
times.
young, so I don't know. They don't even know what to talk about. No, I say an ice cream joke. They want ice cream. They don't care about the.
Oh,
they don't
snap.
care. They don't care about the punchline.
Right? Ice cream?
What's an electrician's favorite ice cream? They're like, we had ice cream. Give me ice cream.
Like, what's the punchline? Right here, let's give us ice cream.
Exactly.
I love
So,
it.
how's the future look for SteveBuilt?
Future of SteveBuilt. We have some stuff coming down the pipeline. We're sort of revising, or I guess it'd be creating, another business plan at the moment. Once we get through some of the stuff pending this year and our systems that we're working on right now and trying to hone in on. So right now we're trying to make our systems a little better. And when I mean systems, I mean like our communication. So we use like Co-Construct as a software.
Yeah, which is sick, by the way. Love it.
Thank you. It's great. I'm glad it's working well for you. We're trying to hone in on that and get our job costing, stuff like that sorted out. Eventually, I'm thinking probably late this year, possibly early next year, we're going to hire on some more staff members so we can grow the company. And we're pretty confident that we're going to be taking on a new division. It's going to be like a millworks division. So we're going to get into some built-in cabinetry, some fine furniture, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something coming down the pipes that we're really looking forward to. And then we also want to get, as we get a little bit more in depth with all that, we think we're going to bring on an interior designer to have in-house, so we can have design in-house. And
That's cool.
Almost like the one-stop shop, where we can try and cater to that luxury living lifestyle where it's just, we want to do everything for you. Like, you come in our doors, we're going to take care of everything for you.
But COVID showed how important your home is, right? When everything shut down, your home was your sanctuary.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So we have like the 3-year written down, the 5-year plan written down, and we're just going to day by day, month by month, year by year, we're just going to keep looking at that, reviewing it, and hopefully we can hit these goals, right?
That's cool.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, not as huge. We just want to make sure that for us, we want our job costing to stay accurate. Fluctuating material prices are always a concern. So I'm going to start doing my better due diligence on making sure I'm cost checking everything more often. I'd like to bring on some staff as well, maybe not this year, but next year, to help with the day-to-day activities in terms of sorting out our crews and making sure our crews are doing their day-to-day activity. To leave
Like a
myself,
project coordinator or
yeah,
manager.
basically a project manager coordinator.
Yeah.
Where that will eventually free me up to make sure, like, more time to do all my permits and estimating larger jobs. Keep beating the door down on the commercial network side of things.
Yeah.
We want to get our feet in the door for commercial contracts and just continue to kind of provide the same service day in, day out that everyone sort of expects from us.
Well, it's important for us to grow, like business structure aside, different sectors, general contractor, master electrician. It's crucial that our businesses are able to grow, and by removing us from that day-to-day
Correct.
picture is the huge macro picture that I've been really diving into this past little bit. And we need to take that step in order to grow our business, so that way we give the customer the best product that they can achieve, the service that they really want, and our employees are going to love it more.
Exactly.
Everything's just going to be better.
I've always been an advocate for, like myself, I wanted to grow organically. So when the demand's there, we'll make the change and implement a person into the team.
Right.
But a person that is the right individual, that has the right skills that are not teachable. Someone self-motivated, someone that takes pride in their work, someone that really enjoys the trade. Those are things that, as a business owner, I can't teach or preach. That's somebody that is ingrained in them what they want from their own career.
Right.
So it's very important that when we grow, we get those individuals, and I take the time properly to find those individuals.
Well said, man.
Right? This was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah? We should do it again.
We are gonna do it again. Maybe next time will be like the dark version. We'll have like some chicken wings, some beers or whatever.
I like that. I'll wear my black sweater so that I don't get wing sauce on this.
Yeah, great idea.
What do you think of this?
The stash?
Yeah.
I'm digging it.
Yeah.
You gonna get the French curl going up?
I can when I put a little wax in her. My wife hates it. But I kid you not, I'm like, my daughter, I go, you want me to shave it? No! At the top of her lungs. So I guess they're stuck in there.
Well, if the kids say it stays.